speaker is Frank Schweitzer. Frank is a professor at ETH Zurich, where he's chair for systems design. He has a great research track record in applications of complex systems theory, especially in the dynamics of social and economic contexts. Frank is also a founding member of the ETH Risk Center. We are very pleased that he's here with us. Please welcome Frank Schweitzer.
Morning, everyone. Stefan has asked for some provocative statements, and I thought, what could be more provocative to scientists than talking about their productivity of their research teams? So we have quite some history in studying collaboration networks. You see on the right-hand side a collaboration network of software developers, and on the left-hand side you see a collaboration network of scientists. We have quite some data about these collaboration networks, so we were able to investigate how the position of a scientist, for example, in such a collaboration network impacts the success of this individual scientist. This problem, unfortunately, does not extend to the productivity of teams. What is the size of teams collaborating? If we look for developers, then we see a very skewed distribution. This is not a power law, it's a perfect Yule-Simon distribution. If we look for scientists, then we see that the distribution is also very skewed. However, it depends on the specific discipline, in physics, for example, how broad this distribution is. Colleagues of ours have investigated how the average team size has developed over the last 100 years in science, and you see that it is steadily increasing. This study was published in Science, so therefore there are no error bars, as you can see. Yeah. So the question is then, why did teams of researchers grow over the last 100 years steadily? Maybe because of their increasing productivity. It could be, right? So this leads us directly to the question, how should we measure productivity dependent on the team size? It is very clear that proxies such as the number of citations, which is generally sold as a measure of success, do not qualify to measure productivity. Number of citations, as we all know, is heavily socially biased. It depends on the age of a publication, on the size of the community that can cite this paper. It also depends on the citation culture inside this particular discipline. Although the number of papers as an output measure does not qualify as a proxy for productivity, because we can easily slice our results, as we already do, in a number of much, much shorter letters, 1,400 characters each, suitable for nature. This is not the way to measure productivity. You immediately understand this. There is another problem involved in this discussion. Let us think for the moment that a larger team size has a larger productivity, which leads to a larger number of citations, and this larger number of citations allows us to build an even larger team, right? So you see that this kind of virtuous cycle then would end up in very, very large team sizes. What I have shown you instead on the other slide was that we have a skewed distribution, so there are teams of all sizes. So that means it's already clear from this consideration that the relation between team size and productivity cannot be positive. So that's already understandable. Question is then, what's the relation between team size and productivity? Scientists don't want to be measured with respect to their productivity, but there is a species out there that is used to be measured for productivity. These are the software developers, right? And there is, in fact, a whole discipline called software project management or software economics that deals with this question. There was a famous book by Fred Brooks, already in 1975, where he investigated the productivity of software developer teams and found out that adding manpower to a late software project makes it later. So I like much more the German translation, which I use a lot. When ein Mitarbeiter what one employee can do in 1 month, 2 employees can do in 2 months, right? So that's the translation of this sentence. So the question for us is, can we in some way quantify this intuition of Brooks' law? The answer is yes. We did the largest study in this field, which is also published here. And we investigated about 30,000 developers with about 580,000 commits over 10 years. And we looked into the relation between their mean productivity as measured by the size of their commits. There is a technical issue involved that I spare here for the discussion, and the team size. And we find a very robust negative relation between this. To translate this for you, let's assume I have a team of 10 people. And now I double the size of this team to 20 people. What's the increase of the productivity? The answer, according to this study, is the same as if I had 11 people employed. So that's very bad news. And the question is, so can we understand why it is not more than this? If we search for the literature, then it's clear that already in 1913, Maximilian Ringelmann has investigated this effect called the Ringelmann effect, and it is directly attributed to the increasing coordination effort in larger teams. We have measured this increasing coordination effort by the size and the density of the coordination network. If I change something, then this impacts, of course, the following developer in the work that he's doing, right? So this is the meaning of a coordination network. And we clearly see that the larger the team, the more is the densification in the coordination network, and this causes, to some extent, the loss of productivity. The question is now for us, so are these insights from software developers now bad news for our research teams? The answer is not really, so I have 2 messages here at the end. The first thing is we need to find appropriate productivity measures for scientists. And what are suitable candidates for these productivity measures is not clear to us, so therefore it's an open research question, and that's why I pose it here. So, while we are thinking about this research question, we can still do something, namely we can raise awareness that productivity is very different from output, which is the number of papers, and productivity is also very different from success as measured by the number of citations. And that means that all of us should fight against wrong incentives in universities, for example, to maximize the output as the number of papers or the number of citations. The second remark from this discussion is that we can do more when thinking about the role of leadership. If larger teams are less productive, then it means that there is a larger demand for better leadership. We have to improve the motivation of our collaborators, and we also have to reduce the coordination effort. However, we should avoid a trap here, and this trap is sketched in the 2 network pictures that I have shown you. We already know from management literature that a centralized control of a system leads to a larger productivity. So I put up the picture here with the dean on the top here. So this is the active dean controlling a whole department. This looks nice in terms of short-term benefits. They increase productivity. But as you already see in the network picture, this is a very unstable network, right? It can easily collapse because of the strong dependence on this one dean, right? So therefore, the more stable network is the one that I have put on the lower row here, where efforts are more easily distributed, and we should think about improving the productivity of this kind of network. Thank you very much.